I went to school for education, and what I loved about education is like how you communicate with diverse learners. And so now that I've practiced so many times telling all of my black friends about what I do, it's like I know how to deliver it to black people now, which is one of the harder audiences to deliver it to.
We have an episode with this guy, our friend Luis, I was telling you about his play party. He has good language around it too. You should listen to, just because he's pretty eloquently about,
absolutely,
especially black people in this space, because it's specific. Our bodies have more. It's a lot more.
There's like
trauma associated.
Yeah, there's race play that happens.
Yeah.
There's the people, like other leaders in the community have had to call me about a lot of black situations. I mean, they'll call me about situations just because like I see more than most.
Like in their own parties?
They'll like a bunch of people who host in private parties. They'll just hit me up and be like, okay, yo, what would you do in this situation? I was like, okay, so.
This is this, and that.
Boom, boom, boom. So one of them was like, hey, we just had race play.
Like this.
Welcome to Love Like This. I'm your host, Milah, and I'm joined here with my lovely fiance, Orlando.
Fiance. I'm a fiance, y'all.
Today we're joined by a very special guest. We have Michael Hollis from The Play LA, a play party that we went to recently, and it was by far a fucking experience. Orlando and I had a really good time. We know if you listen to the show before, you know that me and Orlando are always complaining about the lack of play parties in LA and the range of play parties that we've attended, so much so that we made our own.
How play parties are lacking
in
period
LA. So we were really excited to go to Michael's play party, The Play, and we had a really, 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 really amazing time. So we just wanted to share. Michael's in an ethically non-monogamous relationship. He obviously is the king of sex parties in LA. And I just wanted to pick your mind about your marriage with your wife and how you guys are in business together doing this business and, all of the good stuff.
Yeah, welcome, friend.
It's good to be here. Thank you both for having me.
Yeah.
It's good to see you.
And it's really good to also have a fellow black man in the space, player, of quality, and who I feel is like at a certain level of like experience, because usually you'll get people that of like black men, but they are still a bit immature in the experience or in the mind, or more before even the experience of playing, but in the mindset. So now that I have somebody here that is like has respect of politics and respect within their relationship in this space, it's like, oh, good. Finally, like somebody I could talk to and hang out with and have an understanding and have like a range in their mindset. So yeah, I'm happy to.
Thank you for saying all that. I will say, I'm human and I'm figuring it out too.
Yeah,
I've been in this space, but my wife will remind me. I'm still working through it, but I appreciate that sentiment and thank you guys for coming to the play. I put this thing together, and to have more people of color in the space means a lot to me. And that you guys felt welcomed and that you had a good time and you were able to kind of just
we had a time, baby. Yeah, we had a time. I will say, I mean, one of my favorite moments there that stand out was having sex with Milah, doggy style, behind the DJ booth, and then being able to have a wide scope of everybody. That was like, it was kind of like watching porn, honestly. It was like kind of like watching porn,
it's like
while
being
having
in it,
sex.
It's like, oh shit, like it's my turn.
4D porn?
Yeah, 4D.
Immersive
experience.
There's some wild scenes.
But there were a few very sexy things, other than the fact that I am sexy myself and I was in the place. There were other things that were very sexy about the space, and one of it was the STI testing. That was a very sexy experience to have. Like, and for me and Milah to go to what is it, the men's health clinic in WeHo?
Yeah.
So we went there, and it's kind of funny because you got to do a rectal swab there. And so I was looking at the guy, and he was like, yeah, this is for your rectal. And I was like, your rectal? He was like, rectal. I was like, okay, fine.
I know, they are so friendly at the Men's Health Club.
He's like, you want me to break it down for you?
Yeah.
No, I've been in that same situation. I remember the first time I had to do a rectal swab. there's just these instructions on the wall. Usually, I heard you at a room that didn't have instructions.
I never, yeah.
I've never done
breathing, like, what am I supposed
I was like, how do I do it? What's the angle? Y'all could have given me an example or
Turns out
video.
there is an angle. It's like you're supposed to go in there at an angle, not like straight in. I literally learned that like a few months ago, and I was like, all this time.
Yeah, the angle that I went in on, I was like, did I even put in the right side? Because this feels sharp.
It feels extremely sharp, and I'm like, is there a way that we could, like a little.
They could have left us a lube or something. I was like, oh, no.
It's like, but no,
I did do that. I put my finger on the top and I'd like a Q-tip.
Loosen the cotton a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't think to do that.
I was like, I don't need no cotton swabs in my butt.
God.
But the reason why I say it was such a sexy experience is because I like to think about things being sexy that aren't necessarily like intercourse or like kissing or things that are sex. But I think that knowing your status is a very sexy experience because when you know your status, right, you're on the same page with your person, and then you go into the experience, now you can really let loose, and that's when all the things can happen or whatever you want can happen because you have one less thing in your mind.
Absolutely, and when you're going into a space where there's other people outside of your relationship, like if just knowing, just like an underlying, we all kind of got tested recently, right?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Right.
Not to say I'm playing with everybody, but just like knowing that, like, you know what, if you were to kiss this other person, I know that if you kiss me, like, there's a less probability of an exchange. Now, we don't make safe spaces; we make safer spaces. Safe space.
Right. And then we've even been in experiences where other people were involved and like we went in it like the all natural way.
Are you saying that you fucked another couple raw? Okay, dope.
We went about the all natural, but
not
the thing
the
about
all natural way.
the thing
I
about it
believe
was
you just said
the reason why it was an even better experience was because the trust of doing this was there, so it felt even better. It felt at a higher intensity and it felt much.
And it was raw.
It was all natural. It was organic.
It was non-GMO.
But to your point, like you're absolutely like when you can get to that level of trust with just other humans, right? Like forget just the relationship status, like just with other humans, like we're going to try this thing and trust each other and come into this ethically, right, to where we can and maybe enjoy the experience a little bit more than with someone else that you're using protection with, or boundaries with. That's what I should call them. We're called boundaries.
Latex boundaries.
Exactly. But all to say is like it becomes a deeper connection, not just physical, just emotionally. And
exactly.
It puts your mind at ease. It's one less thing to worry about, and it's just one less worry. It makes it less complicated, and so you're putting your partner at ease, you're putting the person you're playing with at ease. And what I really enjoyed is that you still encourage condoms. There's still condoms everywhere.
And that's what I was just going to say. Like most people are going to, just get tested and still use the condoms, and that's like the norm in this space. I think as when you're going to play parties, especially, but when you're hanging out with a couple and you've played with them maybe a couple of times, it's like, you know what? Since we trust each other, and this is like we're all being honest about who we're playing with, right? This is the situation. Then let's see if we can try something new.
Right. And my whole thing always,
or a little more vulnerable, I should say.
Exactly. And my whole thing always, when it comes to intercourse specifically, not necessarily just sex, but intercourse, is that when you have one less thing to worry about, it makes the situation way better. For you specifically and your party, the play, when you put down like, hey, everybody has to get STI tested, and then you get there and like, oh crap, everybody here has been tested, and it's a vast amount of people for whatever amount of the amount of people that are there, they're all tested. It's like I have such another level of ease like coming into this, and you see a lot more smiles, a lot less worry. Yeah.
I was telling Milah this the other day that the whole point of this space is to decrease anxiety. And when we decrease the anxiety, we increase people's willingness to be vulnerable, and with that increased vulnerability, then increase opportunity for deeper connections, and so. That's kind of like, you know, when you guys are talking about this trust between partners, that's like a deeper connection in a sense, if you can get to that level. But I think most people don't. You know, that was really dope that y'all did that. Even at this stage with my wife and I, like, that is a very rare situation. And,
it's also rare for us, but still did happen.
Which is dope. Which is dope, you know, when it does happen.
Sorry. No, go ahead, baby. No, please, go ahead.
I forgot what I was going to say.
Another sexy thing that happened. As you can see, I'm very excited to talk about
this.
I've been trying to really hold it down. Because I was like, I've been telling people, like, yo, I had a really good time despite, there's nothing that happened that made me not have a good time. But just coming into it with, like, no expectations, I was like, yo, this was a really good party. Regardless
Sex
of the play
aside.
part. Yes.
Thank you, brother.
Really good
Thank you,
party.
my brother.
The another part about it was that deep connection part, and I can see how the setup and the intention for the deep connection, for all the different things that you put together, the length of the party, the consent speech, like just having everybody centered around and just all being on the same page. But the 30 seconds of eye staring with multiple people, and specifically with somebody you don't know.
Exactly. The eye gazing with a stranger.
You know, actually, we had a party the next day. I was going to invite you, but I figured you were asleep.
That was.
I knew you were, so I was like, he's asleep. But we had a little
But tell me
party.
about this party you didn't invite me to.
It was just like a little, you know, we have a lot of shindigs. Orlando's the king of jerk chicken, so he barbecues when people come over for Sunday dinner. We had a DJ. It's just like something light at our house. But
do you not make Jamaican patties?
You make Jamaican
Do
patties?
you?
Do I know how to make it?
Yeah.
I know how to make it. Do I make it? No, I do not.
Okay.
he makes
But
jerk
I know where to
chicken.
go get some really fire Jamaican patties.
I didn't mean to
for
cut you off, please.
Super important, guys. And because, you know, we do that at our retreat, at Good Vibe Retreat, a lot of eye staring. That's like one of the exercises that we practice in connection. But at my party the next day, I was like, everybody stare at somebody you didn't come with. I was like, I used to. And actually, Chaos was there.
Chaos was
Chaos
there.
was there. And so I
Chaos
was like,
is the homie.
yeah.
Homie. Shout out to Chaos. He's been on the podcast.
Yeah.
Was that was at the birthday party? Was that the was there like a birthday party?
No, it was just a little get together that we had the very next day. Yeah.
But I use that because I use it in tantra. It's like a big connection, like eye staring, and so I was like, I'd love to go to a party that the next day I'm literally utilizing these tools that I received at the party to, you know, incorporate in my own intimate spaces, because I love to make people feel connected. I love to make people feel comfortable, like they're in a safe space in our home. My dad was there. My brother, who has Down syndrome,
Oh my God,
Down syndrome was there.
That is so beautiful.
He was staring, you know, so it's like it does. It's something past language. It's something like energetically when you can connect with somebody that you've never met. Whereas you realize how often you're meeting people like, hey, how are you doing? But no one's actually looking in each other's eyes. Yeah. You're literally even like rarely looking at yourself in your eyes.
Yeah.
So it's like it reminds you to tap back in.
Yeah. Thank you for saying that. That's why we do it.
Yeah, that's how I tell you, my brother. You threw a great party. Like the play aspect aside, you threw a great party. It had great aspects to it that can be used in everyday life and other type of like events.
Yeah, we're just, you know, when it comes to connecting and self-expression, what are some of the questions in this vulnerable space should you be asking yourself? You know, and that's why we have the dibs. And I think the other part about why we do the eye gazing is just creating opportunity for verbal and nonverbal connection. Yeah, you know, not everybody's a type A. And like with me and my partner, she is, you know, in America, she's an introvert. In Paris, she's like,
normal.
She speaks French. So it's like the whole, like, I don't know this person.
Yeah,
exactly. I'm just, and I'm the quiet one, you know, so it's interesting. But here, you know, it made me think like, well, how can I create more opportunities for her to connect if, you know, you may not have the same game. You know, and it really puts everybody on the same playing field to just have some breaths and stare into someone's eyes, and it's super grounding. And then, you know, asking those questions about, you know, your desires, intentions, boundaries, sexuality. In this space, they're good questions to ask. If I was just going to do a normal party, you know, without the sex part of it, I wonder what questions I'd ask. You know, it'd be interesting to see what questions, like next time you do it at a party, that's not, you know, you're not.
I mean, I think it's nice sometimes to start with very general questions, like tell the person like your celebrity crush. You know, what's your sign? And then you graduate to something else, like, you know, like what's the most pain you've been in that was not physical? And so suddenly you're put in a vulnerable space to say something that you may not have naturally or
Look at
normally
us
said.
creating emotional release workshops.
You know what I
Why don't you
mean?
come on down?
Come on down to the Good Vibe Retreat.
Right?
We'll
Time's
take
to
you-
play. We are creating things here.
Yeah.
You're gonna love it.
Honestly, I mean, you know, because I'm a tantric practitioner, I do really much. I value just you. Just tantalizing all of the senses throughout the party. There's a lot of different things that were for, you know, each of the senses, which I always feel like weaves in a full body experience.
Thank you so much for saying that, because I think, you know, when this is the fun part about designing the party, right? It's not just like the lights, the DJ, the location. Like, how are we gonna weave our way through this crowd? What do we want people
All
to
of those
smell?
things are important. The lights,
Yeah.
the DJ.
They're important, but there's like other things. Like, what's the smell? You know, there's when it comes to like all these surfaces, like, well, there was a time where we were spraying it with like lavender rose water. You know, so you're like, ooh, what's that? Like,
That's important.
okay, we got
to
the
me.
smell going. Like, taste. You guys were because it was the Play Rodeo. We had like the cornbread. I was like, yo, make the cornbread at 8:00. They'll never see it coming.
My G, I had a cornbread and I
With
got
the
it
honey
when it was
butter?
warm. Yes, I had it
Come
with the
on.
honey
He like
butter.
just slipped it in my mouth. I was like,
I
huh.
took a bite, and I think Milah was outside checking her bag or something, and I held it in my hand, and I was trying to weave through the party. I was like, I gotta get to that.
Yeah,
And I was
yeah.
like, babe. She was like, huh? She was like, where'd you get this? I was like, hurry up,
My friend.
while it's still warm.
They're warm.
Shout out to Shayna. You know,
Yeah.
she convinced. Usually we have freshly baked cookies. You know, that's
nice.
usually our claim to fame. Cookie o'clock.
Yeah.
I love it at. You know, the parties are usually from like 8 p.m. to 4 a.m. So like a 2 a.m. freshly baked cookie. Hits.
Hallelujah.
Hits.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'll just go around the party with the cookie tray.
Squishy in the middle.
Pile to pile, like, oh, you want to? I'll feed you a little cookie here.
That's what I appreciated, that they were surprised, little small nuggets throughout the night.
Yeah.
The fire play, I was getting hit from the back by Orlando with the DJ in front of me, and then there was some fire action going through periodically through the windows, and I was like,
That little fire alley we have.
Yeah.
Right there.
yeah. I was also having sex with Orlando on top of a cage where our friends were below us having sex.
So we would look down and see them. They would look up and see us.
And I was listening to classical piano music, and I was like, I was like, Orlando.
Shout out to
I was like,
Jonathan.
shout out to Jonathan. I was supposed to say that, but
Hey,
he's my friend. Find my Instagram.
I got you.
Michael, fucking give me
Okay,
yours. I know we had a connection. We had a threesome, energetic musical threesome, and Michael's hating on us.
I'm not. When they told me the story, they were like, "Did you hear about the guy who was playing the piano in the dungeon and getting his dick sucked?" I was like, "I didn't hear about it, but
This might be.
I can imagine. That's what we talked
activation.
about.
I had a full performance.
But you
Right.
told me like I had a performance. I was like, I didn't know that aspect of it as well.
Talk about activation surprise. You didn't
Yep.
know it was happening, but I activated myself.
Yep. This might need to be a thing that needs to be put together, because if the Coyote Uglies can come together, we can do this. Milah naked dancing to classical music was chef's kiss.
It was beautiful.
Are we
if I
signing
could.
up for performance right now? Because I've got a violinist.
I knew this would be a good way to set up this for you, baby. I
thank
was like,
you.
I'm gonna get Mike on the podcast. I'm gonna ask
We're
him
gonna
the
make
spot.
him commit on camera. You guys heard it here first. I have a classical performance. Goes to Alvin
Come
Ailey
see us
4
at the
times.
Jew party.
No,
That
you don't have
baby's
to
a
convince
foreman.
me. I'm gonna set up
Yeah.
the whole thing. I'll have a little. I got a cellist and a violinist. My thing is, are you gonna be ready for?
I have
for
so
the
many
time
ideas.
Oh,
even
no,
for,
she-
even for
she's
the
good.
camp. We should do like a
Alright,
little camp connection camp workshop.
No, she's good. She's got it.
All right.
I can vouch for her.
Okay.
I can vouch for
My
her.
man, who's like my momager.
Right.
She's so good.
But whoever's
She
playing
kills
the
it.
instrument, the key part is whoever's playing the instrument has to be getting head at the same time.
Oh man, I know. Like,
I
that's-
told him after, I'm like, I feel like we had like some kind of energetic
See.
threesome.
Yeah.
I was like moaning. It was great.
And I was just voyeuring, like I was an energetic cuck.
You were, babe.
You know, I just found out, like, I don't know, it was like maybe 2 years ago, but like in every hotel room, there's a cuck chair. And I was like,
That's what the chair in the corner
interesting.
is.
I thought, like, well, I mean, in my experience, I was like, oh, that's just that chair that
Office
you like
chair.
hook up in. You know, it's like that's you get head in that chair. Like, you know,
yeah.
you hook up in that chair.
I thought it was a work chair.
exactly. Like
It's
some
not-
of them are fun.
I'm gonna tell you why it's a cuck chair.
It
One,
is
it's not comfortable
100%
enough to be a work chair. It's not a sex chair because usually the handles at the sides are too high. It's like a king's chair, just like sit down and voyeur and watch. That's how sometimes I've seen in certain hotels, and I'm like,
That's the
Those
cuck chair.
freaky
Yeah,
hotel
now from-
designers.
most hotels have it.
I mean,
But I didn't think of it as a cuck chair.
I never thought of it as a cuck chair. And I'm also in like my experience, like that was just a an extra little surface, if we were playing in there or something, or that's where I put my bag. When I come into that, you know what I mean? That's the bag chair. But when they said cuck chair, I was like, ooh, leave it. That's not the bag chair.
Would you be a cuck with your wife, or is that not something that arouses you or gets you excited?
That's not like, I wouldn't, where I'm at right now in my sexuality and in my journey, I'm not like wanting to set the cuck situation up.
It's not going to be something.
It's not going to be like, oh, hey, let's have a hotel night, and that guy that you like, let's go, and then I'll just watch.
Would you prefer like an equal rights, like you're playing over here, she's playing over here, same room type of situation?
Yeah, I mean, it all depends. Like, we're at the stage where it's just like depends on the people, depends on the situation. Like, whose energy do we all of us want to mix with this energy, or is it just you who really wants to mix with it? You just like want me there to mix with it too. Like what's the actual? But there's been times where we found situations like, oh, we want to, play with them, but let's just like backing up the cuck question, right? There are times where we're at the party and she could be hooking up with someone, and I'm not hooking up with someone. And I'm like, oh, look at you.
Yeah, right.
Okay. Like,
go,
oh my
girl.
God, like you good? Like okay. I'm gonna get out of here. Or like okay, like you got this bet. Like you're doing great.
Yeah.
Like you're having a good time, and then it's rarely a time. I mean, not rarely, but there's just sometimes where I'll go over, like, ooh, well, like, are you good? She's like, she'll answer, and then she'll like, why are you talking to me right now? But
go away,
God, Michael, jeez.
My dad's always coming on with cool stuff.
Or I may have to like check in with her real quick to be like, hey, like, is it cool if I hook up with so and so? She'll be like, yes, or no, like, okay, cool, I'll come back later.
No, you can't.
You know what I mean? If something deserves a conversation, you'd be like, do we have to talk about it right now? I was like, okay, that's probably like, that sounds like a no.
That sounds like I'm gonna not. I'm gonna keep it good. Do you guys have a conversation before there's an act outside of one another? Is that the agreement?
Nowadays, I mean, like, let's just how we started, because I feel like that advice may be better for
where you're at now.
Yeah, exactly. So I think with all couples who want to experiment in the lifestyle, or a good framework is for both of you to write out your boundaries in separate rooms. Because there's always somebody in the relationship that's going to influence the other person.
You don't want to cheat.
Not early.
That's
my boundary too. Then
influences me if y'all didn't know.
Yeah, like come on, okay. You write yours, right? And when you guys come together to talk about them, then it becomes a conversation, right? It's not just reading them off. We are communicating them to each other, right? This starts the conversation, and then the conversation evolves into, okay, well, why is that boundary for you? Like, what's coming up? Like, what makes if I hook up with someone in the why is it not okay for me to kiss someone, but I can get head? Like there's just so many different conversations.
Nuances.
Like, why is it that right now? And the other part is, as these parties happen, things evolve. There's been people where we go to a party and she's like, that person's off limits, because I think right now where we're at, and for my people who are out there experiencing the lifestyle, it's good to start a party with who are your no's, not your yeses. Where it's like, who are just the no's. So it's like more so like, yo, enjoy your freedom. Just be, but like, that person, this person. I don't got to explain it.
Right. I said no.
That's just the no's, right? Yeah. Now you got all these other options. But like,
and to even make a point to what you're saying, I trust when my partner tells me no to that person, because if women tend to have a better sense for women, and I think men tend to have a better sense for men. So it's like, if she has to explain to me why she said no to this girl, then it's like I might not get it, in a sense where she might pick up on something that I don't. And that's also happened in the past. Yeah. Where it's like she's picked up on something. And that's just my reason for why I would trust that.
Yeah, I will say, like, there's definitely like feminine intuition and male intuition. There is that. But I think the more a more tangible way to look at it than just intuition is that you're just seeing things that they're not seeing. Right? Like, you saw how she looked at this other person. It was like, I don't like how you looked at your friend. Like, boom. Or like, you saw a girl do something. It's like, oh, like that girl wants to hook up with my girl. Like, no, I don't like how you did that thing over there. It's like, you guys are seeing, and if you're on the scene as well, you're like learning about people as you go. So it's like, oh, that person was a yes, but then I heard they did X, Y, Z, and they didn't tell their partner about what. So like, off the table. So, I would definitely, there's some intuition stuff, but also don't prejudge people that you just don't know. You know, they can be a no, but like maybe you still have a conversation with them, because a lot of times as we grow in the space, the no becomes the yes and the yes becomes a no.
Yeah, and I've also realized that a yes might kill you and a no might save your life.
Hey, let me tell you. There's a piece of advice for you both. If one person wants to go home, we going home.
Yep.
I learned that the hard way. I got swept up in the Uber.
Let's
go. Come on, bitch.
Especially like in the early stages of it, you know, your first few years, you know, easily it's like one person wants to go. It's just time for us to go. Just be happy that we go to these things.
Be happy that you're at the house.
Let's start there, right? Like we just went to I didn't even touch anything, and like I still saw some shit, right? Like that's still, we're making progress here. So I think there's another side of this where there are people out there in relationships where one person's chomping at the bit to go to something.
Yeah,
and it's
do
like,
something,
hey,
participate.
Hey, we are gonna go at a pace that both of us can go at. And so if your pace may be too fast and the other pace slower, like we need to operate on the slow person's pace. Because when there's motion, you know, like the pace should be like have some type of motion in it. And if somebody needs to pause, that is totally fine. If you're in this relationship, then you may need to pause as well and talk it through. But I've seen that so many times where one person just tries to go a little bit faster than what that relationship is ready for.
Your rhythm should be in sync, because that could potentially fuck up your relationship. Being too hype, being too eager, going too fast, you should always drop back and like be in sync with your partner.
Yeah.
Because I feel like there's times I initiated shit that could have so many things, but if we're not in the same pace, it can fuck. It's so delicate, it could fuck up.
And I was having a conversation with a friend of mine, and he was talking about things in his relationship, and just asking about, well, you know, what if like Milah wants to do something or you want to do something and the other person doesn't? I was like, then we just don't do it, because it's not we don't do 50-50. It's 100 or 0. Like, and if I'm enjoying something and Milah isn't, then I'm not enjoying myself. And my whole thing is like, I've had a lot of experience in like the play party space and stuff like that, where I'm not necessarily pressed for things, and anything that I'm pressed for now is to enjoy it with my woman, and that's the most enjoyable experience for me.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've also been there, you know, and that too will evolve.
Yeah.
You know, to get to the space where you can potentially play with someone by yourself. Or, you know, you guys feeling comfortable with that. Yeah. Being ready for those conversations when they come up. You know, I think like having no conversation should be off the table. But what we should do is be open to having the conversation and communicating through it.
Exactly.
At every
honestly.
stage.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And if it's okay if a person is stuck at a stage, and that's fine. We can talk it through. There's some really interesting, you know, this concept that I learned called hot monogamy. Hot monogamy. So this NYU professor came to the play to give a presentation, and she does all these different types of like it's like this non-monogamy chart, right? Because monogamy is this thing right here. We know it's one-on-one. Got it, right? No cheating. Okay.
Got it. Fine.
Yeah. Okay. But non-monogamy is like, it just has so many different aspects to it, right? And so there's, you know, whether it's polyamory or ethical non-monogamy or hierarchical polyamory, or, I mean, there's just so many different aspects of it. And because it's so fluid, you know, and where everybody is, how they identify sexually may be how you then identify the relationship. It's just like a whole web. But one of the concepts she brought up was hot monogamy, and it's like you two are out, right? And there is a woman that you both are like, damn, that woman is fine, right? Like we can just agree. She didn't get those tits done for church. Right? Yeah. So you both are like, okay, like she's hot. And then you guys go home and Milah dresses up like that woman, you know, and like she dresses up like it and like just role plays like, okay, like I'm going to act like how she was acting, and then we gonna hook up. So that way you guys just did some role playing, pushed the boundaries of your relationship, but stayed within the boundaries of your monogamy. Right,
hot monogamy,
monogamy.
Basically fantasy monogamy. You're doing fantasy simulations.
We've actually kind of like did something like that, or we actually still do, because role playing is like acting, and role playing for us is like really fun in what we do. And it started. We did a month-long vacation to solidify the foundation of our relationship. And while we were there, she was wearing braids actually like this, and I was like, you know, with these braids, you just feel like a whole different woman, because she usually has short hair. So you feel like a whole different woman with these braids. And I was like, you know, it'd be kind of fun if you were a whore at a brothel, and I was cheating on you with short hair, but I'm cheating on you with braids, and your name is Jade. That's what it was. I was like, and your name is Jade. And she was looking at me. She'll be on top of me, and like, you know, what's your wife's name? And I was like, her name is Milah. And I was like, she was like, I bet Milah doesn't do it like this. I was like, she don't.
She doesn't. You're so
I feel you. That's what's up. That's dope.
We call it the fantasy field.
We call it the fantasy field.
That's beautiful.
Yeah,
that's beautiful.
I mean, I think that's like literally like step 0.5 before opening up, you know, like I think there's steps. I think people are like, things are not going good in my relationship. Let's not be non-monogamous. Let's be poly. Let's have a threesome.
And
don't do that.
You do this stuff. You try this new stuff when your relationship's at a good point, not to save the relationship.
And you don't even have to bring in a third person per se, but you can actually simulate being someone else, being different people, doing things that you wouldn't maybe naturally or regularly do. And then you like maybe go to the strip club and get a lap dance together. And see what happens. Or before that, maybe you watch porn together if you've never watched porn together. But at least you can play with the idea of a different energy being there before you jump right in. Because I always I always battle with like if jealousy is human nature or is it what we've been socialized to believe. And I have to think it's socialization, because in friendships we don't get like, you have a new friend, fuck you. I mean, of course, you know what I mean. It's just so ridiculous.
It is wild just thinking that. I think it's just such a limited way of, I don't want to, you know.
Experiencing life.
Existing. You know, like, why are we limiting how much we can love one another? Like, I'm just going to save this type of vulnerable, soft, precious love for this one person, although I can do that with my 3 children. I can show them all this, you know, type of love, and it's it's infinite. But with this person, and unconditional. But this person just has to be with them. I think when you allow yourself to have those different connections with people, and I think some of it derives from like, you know, not one person is going to be able to fill up your cup. You know, so like, you know, my wife, she fills up 80%. That's a strong 80%. You know, but there's this 20% where like, I go on a date with this other person, like that person fills up like 50% of my cup, but it does cover the 20% that my partner doesn't fill up. You know,
it's a shiny thing. It's new and shiny. Oh, what's that? It's new and shiny. I've never seen it before.
It's also like brings appreciation for what you have. You know, there's times where I've been on dates with other women or connected with them, and I'm like, man, I cannot wait to get home. You know, like man, I'm so like, that was fine for that, but like this is one of the most beautiful things about non-monogamy is how much closer it brings you to your partner. And I've heard that from so many different people of like, it brought us so close together because it inspired us to have these harder conversations with each other. And this is what I really like about you. And I went deep with this other person and also realized like, you know what, like I like what I got, you know, or, hey, I experienced this with someone else. Like, would you mind trying it?
Yeah. And it's a trust, like, wow, you really respect and trust me enough to give me the opportunity to have this experience. You're not limiting my pleasure. You're not limiting how I can, like, you have, but mostly like that's what most people do. But in this, you love and respect me so much that you are supporting me in my exploration of community, of like how I can connect with the next person. And I think
connect with humans in general. Like I'm open to you having deeper connections with your environment.
And that's always been like true Aquarius form with me. I don't like being limited. I like being airy and being free and just being able to just move as I like, but also within the respect of my relationship. And even and also I like feeling like my person has that freedom to move and enjoy. Absolutely. Just like that. And that's where like my compersion comes in. I like to be happy and see the people that I like be happy as well. And even things, even knowing like some of her fantasies, and back to back to what we were saying about like the simulations, when she let me know like, oh, she would like to experience the MMF like one day.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, well, I'm not just gonna throw another man into like the bedroom, but like we simulated it first. So like she would have like her toys or whatever. And we would simulate like an MMF as if it was another person. So we would be fucking. I'll just take her toy and just slap it on her face. Like, yeah, you like a dick slap on your face? This is what you want during your MMF? This is how you want it? But
It was sexier than that.
But I mean, it was
in the face with the dick.
No, I mean, like,
Damn.
I understand what you're saying. I have been there trying to figure it out.
Yeah, and that's what it was. It was just figuring it out. Like, let's
like,
just
what works, what's
let's make it
hot.
ridiculous. Let's make it serious. Let's make it fun. Let's make it structured. Let's do all the things and then see where we land.
So when
with
it
it.
actually happens when there's actual dick in the room, we're not like, emergency, code red, dick.
I think it's I love that you brought up the MMF, right? Because in this patriarchy, right, when people say threesome, they automatically think, guy, girl, right? Male, female, female. And anybody that wants to, it's just yin and yang. It's just actual equality, right? So if you want to have a threesome with your girl, right, with another girl, great. Just make sure you're just as open and also participatory in making it happen like your partner was, so that it can happen, So when the imminent, like I knew as soon as we had our MFF, I was like, as soon as it happens, like when she's ready to do that, when that question gets asked, when that situation happens, be cool, bro.
Keep it together.
So it was just like, okay.
She held it down for you.
Right? And she was also patient. Like, yo, here's the person. Like, this person. Like, this is, here, we're going to try it. And it was, it was great. It was fun.
Yeah.
You know what I like? One of my favorite sayings that I've kind of discovered through this experience is, it's not the sex, it's the pillow talk. And we're able to, like, chill like we are. Right, and everybody's like half naked, just got super intimate with each other, and just the conversations that you have, the vulnerability that you experience. Sometimes just having a little cuddle puddle with everybody after. It's so it's tender, it's healing. It can be really cool.
This is how sex is supposed to be utilized. I think we're so used to utilizing it on the surface level and just dictating and controlling what it means, what it looks like, what it's called, that I think that people just get like the tip of the iceberg of the benefits and the medicine that sex could be, but when you can say like, wow, I really connected with this person because we just had this experience, and I'm not so quick to jump to the sex, I'm like playing in the journey of it and the connection of it and the conversation of it and the chemistry of it. There's a dance that happens that like allows the pleasure, the orgasm to like elongate, and you can just like ride the wave, because a lot of times you fuck somebody, you see someone cute, you fuck them, then you're like, But if you like really dig into that person and you really feel free, and I think I always say this to the men, because this is a big thing for women, the safety. And for me, like, I'm a pretty wild, free woman, and I always doubted that there was a man that could accept and hold me for all of that, because I know historically men want to be free and flexible and want to have threesomes, but very rarely give the opportunity to the women that they call partners. But it's like, oh, well, I'm a man, so I'm different. Like, no, man, if you like pussy and I like dick, let's just put I did the numbers, boop, 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 and I'd like two.
Got a loud ass calculator.
You know what I'm saying? It's just like, but so many men are so willing to jump past that part and just be like, you're a whore.
And there's dudes, that want to talk about the divine masculine. Then those situations, that's when it really comes in to play, right? Like, now we've got both of our energies, these male energies in here. How are we going to support this queen?
Yeah.
Right? How are we going to support the divine feminine while also respecting our masculine, right? We're not here for each other, but we are here to
work together.
So now you got to be my teammate, and we are on a mission, and it's shout out to my boys I teamed up with.
Shout out to my boys.
What do you call us? Eskimo brothers?
Spend some Kobe Shaq moments.
Your divine brothers in play.
But it becomes like that divine masculine of like, how we speak to women in this experience, how we treat them, what's the aftercare, how do you give aftercare to someone that's not your partner, right? Because they still deserve aftercare. How do you make your partner, how do you give your partner aftercare after you've played with someone?
Yeah.
Right? They still need aftercare when you come home.
Right.
And the advice I tell everybody is this thing called reclamation sex. It's me and my wife's favorite term, especially when we started off. Reclamation sex. You hook up with someone else. One of you guys hooks up with someone else, or both of you guys hook up with someone else. The jealousy comes over you, because don't think like jealousy doesn't. People who say they don't get jealous, it's, to me, is a big red flag.
Yeah.
Right. Like I get jealous. I experience it. I identify it. What a blessing in this existence to experience the emotion of jealousy. First off, right? How lucky we are in the full range of emotion. So the jealousy comes over me. I breathe through it. What is making me jealous? Yeah. So basically working through the jealousy part. So I'm sorry, I was on a thought. It was reclamation. So with the reclamation, you feel the jealousy, and it's like, yeah, I'm gonna go prove myself again.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Clearly, I need to remind her. You had a good time, huh?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, dope.
I mean, and that's an element that people forget.
That is
Like,
good.
it's kind of fun.
Yeah. Bet, watch
Yeah.
this.
Oh, no, you had a great time. Yeah, no. So,
Yeah.
okay, cool.
Got something for that
The
ass.
fuck after the fuck,
Yeah.
you know, it's like, oh, okay, I know your boss. All right, I know whose pussy it is. Relax.
And that's a beautiful primal part of like the male psyche, is like the safe competition part. Like when we're competing for your pleasure, like everybody wins, because you are now you've been pleased over there. Now you're back home. You're gonna get this pleasure again, but now you're getting pleasure in a competition state. And it's like sports, like a healthy basketball game, soccer game, football game, where men are coming together to show and their proof and their worth. We're doing this dance, like, oh, you like this dance? Watch this.
Watch this dance. And it's a dance partner. And then also, you know, what I've learned is like sometimes there's people who may dance better with your partner. You know, that's something to swallow as well, but that doesn't mean that you are lacking anything in that relationship, right?
No.
Like they could do something that maybe you couldn't, right? Or maybe they have a different situation than you got, you know, but still being able to like with the reclamation, like, you're with me because of the experience that I give you. I don't have to like show out to do the most
to compete
with that person. Yeah, but like also like part of me just wants to like give you a really good experience. You know, it's not going to be like the morning sex when you get home. You know what I mean? Like so it's really cool, and especially in, you know, if both of you guys play with somebody else, then it's like you both are like looking at each other like, okay, let's go. You know what I mean? And that becomes like, me and my wife were like obsessed with that for a second. Like we was just like, we both went
sex
out.
after the sex.
Yeah, we played with the other people. We like saw that we were playing with other people, and then we would get home and be like, we would give ourselves 48 hours for reclamation. 48 hours, and like, okay, now our turn. Let's create some space. You know, like let's
environment.
Play. Yeah, let's make sure, like, we went to that party that had the space and everything. Like let's do the same thing for us, instead of just like this. Sometimes, especially being married for so long, like, you know, we still have it, but it's like the rollover morning sex. You know, it's great, gets everybody up going, but, you know, still being able to make time for what we call the hotel nights.
Yeah,
where it's like, okay, we're gonna go to a hotel, we're gonna trash it.
Yeah,
like we're just gonna do all the things and not have to worry about cleaning it up after. And also like making sure that we're connecting like that, because sometimes at home it can get a little mundane. It's not the
life happens, work happens, like, and you're like, oh, I gotta find time. It's like, nah, I want to have a moment where like we're on a staycation where we don't gotta think about the outside world, and I can really focus on you. And then sometimes I can get in my head by thinking about like outside factors. It's like, all right, I want to fuck you silly and crazy, but I gotta get up and edit some shit. I gotta I'm on a time crunch for getting these things done. And one thing I wanted to ask was what is something that an advice that you give to couples in like finding like their boundaries or like finding like something they may not like? Because for me specifically, I'm cool and chill, and I'm not saying like I don't get.
You're not cool and chill then.
I was gonna say, who's not cool and chill?
Like, she's like,
she's so cool and chill. Yeah,
so cool and chill.
I'm cool and chill, but I'll be cool and chill to the point where I might not know where like my boundaries like stand and lie, and I do experience jealousy, but it's just not.
What was that?
Relax.
What'd you say?
It's not high. It's not.
Wait,
I don't experience jealousy about the same things that like usually men would like experience, right? Mm-hmm. So I have to sometimes like really think and figure out like, well, what about this situation would make me feel like I need to let you know what boundary I would have so that it doesn't just pop up in my face and I'm just like tight. So I was like, what's something if you were to tell a couple to like, how did you find out your boundary?
That boundaries exercise. Right, mm-hmm. Putting your boundaries separate, and then coming together, talking about it, and then go test the boundaries. Mm-hmm. Like
I think it's easier to separate it and say what do I want. I think people have an easier time being like, this is what I would want, this is what I do want my fantasies are, versus like even when you asked me like about the boundaries, because that's one of the questions for vetting, and I was just like, I just don't want to be touched if no one asked me to be touched, mm-hmm. because a lot of times I think sometimes people don't even know their boundary is their boundary until they see it and they're like. They want to pull you up out the threesome, like by their ear, like
yeah. As you like, you'll understand. Your first play party, it may feel like a different language, but as you get more experience, you'll know like what the actual boundary is. Mm-hmm. Like what is the thing. There's a lot of times you're going to have conversations while things are happening. We always have a debrief session after any time we play. Also, it's so fun to debrief with your partner after any situation. Like they go on a date, you go on a date, you guys go to a party together and just be like, oh my God, are you ready to talk? Yeah. Because like, this is what I experienced. Like, mm-hmm. what did you see? And it makes it's like really feels like a friendship. It's like talking to, because you only talk to your friends about like hooking up. Mm-hmm. Right, you never really like talk to the person that you hooked up with, or it's like it's a different conversation, right? So talking to your partner about someone you hooked up with is super cool. Kind of like brings you back to just like regular friendships where you're just telling your person like, man, this person like did XYZ, like, and then they tried to do this, and I was like, baby, take that thing away. You know what I mean? He's like, she tried to do what to you? I was like, I know, I don't know why.
She thought this was the thing, right?
She came out the bathroom just swinging it. I was like, whoa, but it's kind of fun to have those conversations, but. To your point, when it comes to boundaries, figuring them out, trying to figure out a few of them before you guys, like you guys said, hey, we're only going to play with each other. And like, we're going to start with each other. And if something else happens, great. Mm-hmm. You guys played with each other, right? Awesome. Maybe the next time it switches up. Because eventually there's going to be a time where you go and it's like, you know what? I'm attracted to that person. That other person is attracted to me. Mm-hmm. So then you're going to have a little encouragement to be like, we kind of need to have a conversation. You know what I mean?
This person's flirting with their eyes.
Yeah, exactly. And then also it's up to the other partner to notice like, okay, they are attracted. And I'm not going to cock block. Yeah. Because it's a natural thing that we do. We can't, that's just what the society that we're trained in, right? Like somebody else is attracted to our partner, like, then I turn my back to them, or like our conversation is shorter and we're moving this way, know? And what I've had to do is realize, especially with my partner being the shy one in the relationship, I got to be the activator. I gotta be because there's been times where we were going to play parties, like I'm getting, I'm having a great time. And she's like, maybe you're not really having too much fun,
you don't like you're enjoying this as much as I am.
Me. I be having the time of my life.
That's so weird. Like, are you good? I mean, there's not a time where she's like, oh no, I'm not good, and like clearly you forgot it. Like nobody's gonna make a big deal there. But like after the exactly. But after the sex part, I was like, I just find it weird that
you be having bitches for the last 3 parties, and I'm at coach
by like 3 different chicks, and like, oh my god, like what's going on?
Are you thirsty?
And here's the best part is like when she has something to do, like then the conversation is different. Like, so what did you do? Like, oh, dope, you had a great time. Me too. So I find myself when we're in parties and stuff, like, okay, like who are you attracted to? Like, I know
You're
we know
facilitating
we know
it for her.
we know your boundaries, we know your desires. Like, so who are you attracted to? You know, and she'll be like, oh, maybe like this person. Like, don't look. You know, like this person, this person, and this person. You know,
Come on, Michael, be
or
cool,
just like
Mike.
yeah, exactly.
Damn.
Like, just I'm gonna be cool. I'm just like, where are they? Like, they're both wearing white t-shirts. Okay,
You went for me.
okay, that one. Okay, I'm gonna go up to them and I'm gonna introduce myself. You know, so
Yeah.
it's for couples who are in this space. You know, I always feel like there's one that is a little bolder than the other one. And so setting your partner up with a win, the goal should be setting each other up with wins. You know, and so
That actually makes me feel good, because when Milah came to me, telling me like what she wanted for MMF, and we actually were in a situation where she was like, "Oh, I think I found somebody. Tonight might be the perfect night for it to happen." For me, you have to be confident in what you want. I can't do like the half-assing or like maybe I kind of want, because then I feel like that sets up a situation for mistakes to happen. Like if you don't fully aren't sure what you want.
if it's not a fuck yes, it's a no.
Yeah, so for me, you have to be like, this is what I want to do.
And it's like if you're like, well, I guess I kind of want to do it, and I think like we were raised in a culture where like women are being like, oh yeah, I guess
We had to be coy
you know?
about
Yeah,
saying,
exactly.
hey,
It's
I
like,
want
wait,
2 dicks tonight.
yeah, exactly.
Your dick, that dick, both in my
Look
mouth.
down.
yeah,
Woo!
exactly.
Maybe that boy over there too,
Yeah,
if
yeah.
it gets time permits.
And that's
it's true.
it's culturally
Yeah.
how we grew up.
Women have to work through the shame and the guilt. Even when I first told him I wanted to have a 3-way with another guy or whatever, I was just like, maybe it won't be with you, because I don't really have time to be in my own head about if you're going to judge me after this, and if you're going to want to keep me as your wife and shit. Like, I want to just be free and like, woo. But I think women have a hard time feeling like they can be free and actually be honest, because oftentimes men can't handle the truth. And for us to say, you know, it has often meant I'm a whore, I'm a hoe, and I think men have to really understand the extra layer of what like being a woman really comes with, because when we were talking about in the other episode, what Good Moms is about, like how we feel. Is the kink to cheat because there's something sneaky about it and it kind of fills a like dark and nasty cup, or is it that like I actually feel like triggered that if I tell you this, you're gonna not love me anymore?
Yeah.
I mean, it's all of those feelings,
Right.
You know, like, and it's really releasing the shame of it with your partner,
And
right?
feeling
Like,
safe with a partner that I can be honest, and you're gonna love me still.
Yeah.
and I mean, it's one of like, yes, you want them to love you still, but I think it's like taking the more vulnerable and honest you get in the relationship. I think that's kind of the more honesty you get out of it. But I say that, and I still hesitate to be like, man, so I took something too far with this other person to my partner.
Okay, I was going to ask you what kind of like marriage did you grow up around? What kind of like were you in an open household, and sexually or romantically? What did you experience and see?
So my parents got divorced at 5 years old, when I was 5 years old, and when they got divorced, I ended up I was living in Houston at the time. And my mom's from Los Angeles. Like, I come from like a long line of Los Angelinos, you know, real Angelinos. But point is, after they broke up and she was in Texas, she was like, well, I'm gonna just move back to California.
Oh, because you had moved there because he's from Texas.
No, his job took him to Texas.
Okay.
Yeah, he's a St. Louis guy.
And how old were you when they got divorced?
5 years old.
Oh, okay.
So I stayed in Texas for like 3 more years, and then when I was 8 years old, I moved to Ladera Heights. Lived with my grandparents out there. It was a whole thing. But when I was living with my mom, you know, we were single mother raising 3 kids. You know, me and my 2 sisters, and she's from Los Angeles, so she like is on the scene. You know, just like she's like always knows the places to be, the people to talk
She's a
to.
socialite.
Exactly. So, you know, but she still had 3 jobs, you know, just did her thing, you know, shout out to my mom. But I would see her dating life, right? Like, she was a player. I was like, yo, I'm peeping. Gang, I'm clocking it. Like, this dude, and like maybe that dude, right?
Okay, good mom.
Because also like when these dudes are trying to date my mom, they're like, oh, let me just take your son to the movies.
Right.
You know?
That's how you date a mom.
Was Christmas good?
Oh my God. Sorry. It's just like, they always like wanted, I wouldn't say like Christmas gifts, but it was more of like, oh, I'm going to do something with your son that's like, man, so I'm like, all right, bro, what's your deal? Right. I want to go see
what you want with my mama?
It's just like, bro, I know what you're doing. Like, let's just go watch The Matrix.
Right.
Like whatever new movies is out. Like, let's just go see that, bro.
Right.
Okay. Yeah. But I could see kind of how she was always, how she moved around. And I could see that like each person that she was with like filled up her cup differently, and not only that, each of these individuals that she was with filled up my cup differently. Like, oh, this is the movie guy. Like, I love watching movies with this guy. Like, he would talk to me about him after and like take me deeper places. I was like, damn, that's dope. And then like this guy, like, he likes to hoop. You know what I mean? Like, he has a son that hoops. You know what I mean? Like, I like hooping with his son. Like, that's a whole other cup. So it's like you kind of see just the I saw how she was moving, and
you
so
benefited from it too.
Yeah, exactly. And so I think growing up, like it was something to where I became a player myself. Like having girlfriends for like in high school like 2 weeks at a time, and college was a whole nother situation. But yeah, I think because my parents were divorced and my dad got remarried, he kind of went down the path of just having right after he remarried, like that's still my stepmom.
Okay.
And I told my parents recently last year I told them that this is my life's work.
Oh yeah. Oh, they didn't know?
No, they didn't. I mean, I just no. No,
you said we're doing events, regular parties?
There was a time where I was doing the play and I was like producing for like an ad agency, and like there was a time I was working at Universal. It was like a whole thing. And I was making Super Bowl commercials and doing the play. Right, producing Super Bowl commercials, and so I'd be able to still send them my work, right?
Right.
Like,
So
check out like this one for TaylorMade. Like, here's another one for Traeger.
In a few years, it's like, what the fuck you been doing?
So they saw like the evidence of like, oh, he is out there doing something, So
doing something.
Then I just like when I decided to do the play full time, then I just like didn't talk about it, and I have some, I'm very lucky to be in a family with there's some big superstars in my family, so we keep the attention on them. Like, oh my God, they did it again. Look at
Thanksgiving, we're only talking about sis.
Yo, you're crushing it.
Were your parents upset? Were they okay with it? I'm assuming that in that conversation you also included that you and your wife were non-monogamous.
Yes. So told him that I was like, well, we got to start with like first, we're non-monogamous. Let's start there. Let's get to the business in a second. Like, we're non-monogamous, right? And also, they weren't. It was like, oh, okay.
Was there infidelity in their relationship at all? Did you ever see any like? Is that a reason they broke up, or you had no idea because you were 5?
No, they just like, they just didn't like each other. Like, straight up. Like, I just saw the communication over the years. I was like, I don't know how this happened. Like, clearly the sex was fire. I know fire and ice getting together. Okay. So basically, where was I saying?
About them, how they received the information.
Yeah. So one, it was like, okay, well, that's your sex life. One of my sisters, she's in the LGBTQIA community. And she came to them and basically said her piece, and so I feel like my parents were open, to hearing their other titles that exist, and so when I told them that I was, non-monogamous with my wife, I also put it with a caveat that like, if you want to talk about that, it's going to be a conversation.
Yeah.
So, do y'all want to talk about your love life
as
well? You know what I mean? Like, are we gonna have this conversation? It's not gonna be like, oh,
it's
and then I do this, and then I do that. And are you guys? What's going on with you? I mean, they just respected like, yo, that's your choice. If that's what you guys want, like, you guys have been married for 7 years now. It's clearly nothing that is, you guys are longer than their first marriages. You know what I mean? So, all to say, they just respected my decision. It's not like, it's like to each their own. I really was, I was actually pretty surprised because they're black. Not really. I think my mom was the type to like force us to go to Sunday school. My dad was like, Catholic and went to an all boys Catholic school growing up, so they definitely came from those institutions. And yeah, there was a time where I got pretty. I was at college my freshman year. I went to Bible study. And
wow!
I started.
That's voluntary.
Study. Yeah, I started a Bible study group. I was one and then I became in college. I became vice president of the largest on campus ministry.
Oh wow!
Yeah, and it was the most diverse as well.
Pastor Mike.
No, I was just the vice president. I wasn't taking any titles now, but during that experience, and my freshman year is when I officially was like, okay, Jesus, this is enough.
Jesus, this we're gonna wrap this up here, Jesus.
It's like, yo, Jesus. Like, first off, when it comes to just religion in general, my thing is like, you're willing to die over this text, right? But you won't read the other text of the things that other people would die for.
Right. That seems one-sided.
Once you start reading the other text out there, it's like, okay, we're all kind of saying the same thing. But also, like, I can see how this worked 2,000 years ago.
Right.
Like, this is just not going to work with my the current situation of human. Like, science has evolved. Like, how we eat has evolved. All these things have evolved. It's except
the human has evolved.
Yeah, and so that, when it came to religion and stuff, it's never been something that's like been like, oh my God, I'm going to hell. Like, my plumber came into the house one day, and he was like, man, the devil's been chasing me. And me and my wife were like, whoa, like, we haven't even said the word devil in our home.
What are you talking about,
we're not
sir?
We're not talking.
Don't come up in here with that plumbing.
Yeah, exactly. Like, we don't talk about heaven or hell or all these biblical concepts. Like, they don't exist for us. So there is no devil out there that's trying to get us, or there isn't like a hell that we could burn. Like, it's just not in my imagination. So we'll just keep it there.
I ask about the religious part, and always also the background you come from, because I think a lot of times we're unaware of like how those formative years stick with us, and like I do think, and I notice this too, like men who have moms who were free in some capacity, men or boys who saw their women be adults, be human, and respected them that way. I think a lot of boys grow up with this understanding. My mom never sucked dick. My mom never dated nobody. She didn't bring nobody home. Like, actually, that's how you got here, my nigga, And I think there's like a humanity that we take away from the women. And also, I always ask about the religious part, because I recognize, especially with people who, just with like tantra clients who suffer from religious shame and trauma. But I also realize some of the spaces that I've been in, sexual spaces, play parties, have been the most divine and church-like places, congregations I've ever experienced. And I feel like when you're at your true authenticity, when you're at your most vulnerable, when you're at your most free, and you can be literally naked, and not just in the sexual sense, but just free to be yourself truly and unapologetically and embraced in that, whether it be romantic love or friend love, there is such a true divinity and like medicine that comes through. And a lot of times that's why I visit these places, and not because I'm like fucking everybody and I must suck lots of dicks, but I'm nosy too. But also, like, there's a divine congregation, church that you experience just energetically from being in places where people are in agreement to be free. We're here to be vulnerable. Hey, we're here. That's what we're doing. We're taking it down, and it's a form of prayer. It's a form of like exalting the humanity and the divine in all of us. It's a way of exalting like the pleasure that God has given us to experience and to commune in that space, in that community. And like, I always feel that when the times when I give myself the most permission, whether it be sexually, just to relate to others and to connect, those are the times where I feel God most present in my life. And I think it does, like so many religious people from traditional religions remove the sex from the divinity, and it literally ruins how spiritual and beautiful sex can be. Sexual energy is the most divine. It's the closest thing to God. And so when you remove that from the religion or from the church or from the practice of spirituality, we're often removing like a huge piece of how you connect to the divine. Like, think about when you orgasm, how connected you are, how how you just leave your body literally for pleasure. That's the Holy Ghost.
So this,
some church music to that.
Please put the organs here. Hallelujah.
And like, I can't tell you how deeply I do feel that. Right, I made my transition from a regular, my 9 to 5 to the play. I had 1 foot in, 1 foot out of both, right? And then I took ayahuasca, and I was like, oh, regardless of the money, the status, whatever, like, I'm going to try to connect people. I'm going to try to make these smiles bigger. How do I, in this existence, make other people's light shine brighter? And I'm careful to talk about the very spiritual experience that happens in this space, because I don't the last thing I want is like cult leader vibes, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if the cult is for good.
No. See, that's what I'm saying. Exactly. Look, I've had these conversations.
Natural cult leader over there.
Cults. I'm obsessed.
You just have like let them feel it.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing with religion. Let them feel it. We got so many people want to talk about it and tell you what it is. How about you just come to this space and feel it? And you know what? We don't need to define it. Not every feeling needs to be expressed.
Yeah.
Some can just be felt. And I think that's the beauty of this space. It's about the infinite connections that you can have with somebody. It's about, the evolution of how we as humans connect with each other, especially with the like I was saying before, like with the increase of AI and just technology, it feels lonely out there.
We have to work to have human connections. We have to work to remind each other, hey, yo, look at me in my face. This is why we're experiencing anxiety, because we're forgetting to be like, hey, what's up? Hey, how are you?
Oh my God,
I've been here all day. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, this is what God intended for us to do.
It feels good.
Yeah, and even between men and black men, and like, hey, there's people who are out here for real touch starved. We had a sex party. I made eye contact with this man, and I just was like, hey, look at me. Are you cool? Literally for just just a minute. And I can see tears like just welled up in his eyes. I'm like, yo, give me a hug. And I held this stranger, and it was so deeply powerful. And there was no sex involved. There was nothing. It was intimate, but it wasn't.
That made his play party, actually.
It wasn't erotic.
He was like, yo, this made my night.
But this is what our communities are lacking at such a deep level. And this is why, it may feel extreme to someone who's not putting themselves in these positions, but it's like religion is always going to tell you to seek something outside of yourself. Yeah. As healers, I would say we all are in different capacities doing different things, but like when you're asking someone to go back to themselves, I'm not asking you to believe in anything outside of yourself. I'm asking you to go back to the very depth of your own pleasure, your very depth of your own essence, and say, what the fuck is that? Let me dig deeper into that. Let me believe in that shit. Like your intuition, that is God innately inside of you. Stop seeking outside and following other people's rules for fucking you. It's not about what we do. It's not about what Betsy next door does, or John and Jacob Jingleheimer Smith of Genesis John 2nd, or whatever the fuck.
Okay, you're on a roll, player.
It's just solely about the book of you. And so often we're studying outside of ourselves how to fit into spaces that are on our own, how to fit into this religion and this space or this job. And essentially, you're only going to win in life if you are constantly seeking back to your motherfucking self.
Facts.
Every scripture, so when I was in that religious time, I was like, let me just read all the other ones, right? And a lot of them are just saying that like God is within inside all of us.
Exactly.
Right? So like, why not just go inside yourself if it's there? I don't have to go to the church, the temple, wherever. To get God, if it's just within me. Are we digging inside of ourselves looking for God? And getting back to the space, this is why I ask everyone, I need y'all to show up as your best self tonight. Yeah. Because everybody is being vulnerable tonight. And all it takes is one person fronting. It takes one person who thinks they're better than everybody.
You're going to stick out like a sore thumb.
You are going to stick out, but that's the thing. It's like, if we can hold space for each other being vulnerable, how do you want to be approached? If somebody says no to you, hey, man, thank you for taking care of yourself. That's what I needed to hear when I said no to you. Like, I felt so bad.
Right.
No.
Oh, my God. I'm so happy you said no because, right.
You know what I mean? So coming to these spaces, it's safer than the bars and the clubs, right? Because of how people are interacting. And I think it's, I tell everyone that the currency is kindness.
Yeah.
That's what's going to make this whole
and it's free
thing flow. And it's so fucking free. And all I could sit here and think about is we just need less directors and more examples. This is what it really gives.
Yeah, it's
Well, thank you both, gentlemen, for being wonderful examples of the divine masculine.
man.
Thank you for holding space for your women, for all women, for not only your women but all women, and for just being self-aware and constantly checking yourself and being able to have conversations like this, so that other women that are listening and other men specifically can hear and be like, oh, there are men that have care and love and respect and want to treat me as a partner and as an equal. So this is, I think it's so important that women hear these conversations, because a lot of women are on that men ain't shit, niggas ain't shit. And, we all know that there are men out there that are. You just have to be seeking and also
creating vulnerable spaces for those men to show that vulnerability.
Which is why I love and miss throwing play parties when I was throwing play parties in New York, because I would get more so like an entry level of people, but being able to like be the host and let people and give people a different experience than what we experience as far as like play parties, as far as just like, oh, just come, show up, pay your fee, and then like there'll be sex here. And if you get some sex, then cool. If you don't, then I don't know what to tell you. It's like, no, one of my favorite things about hosting a play party was like being a fantasy facilitator, where people can come, and I already know that there's like a nervousness in being like the rookie into the space. So I was like, listen, don't worry about feeling nervous. If you feel like you want to try something, come to me and I will help try and facilitate like whatever you
it doesn't need to be with
and
me, but like, let me just be your wingman.
That was actually I would.
Okay,
that's what happened.
Are you cool with this?
Yeah.
Are you cool with that? Like,
one of my favorite things was this girl had told me that she wanted to just get eaten out by multiple guys like in one night. And I was like, all right, this is what you do. You stay right over there, lay back, be comfortable, just chilling, and I'm gonna come to you. I'm gonna point out some options, and if you want me to go ask, then I'll have the conversation for you. Like I was everybody's like fantasy fairy.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Not fantasy fairy.
But it would be different situations where like that nervousness is really in there. But if you have somebody to like facilitate for you, and I see that in you in like your party where you said that you were the concierge of the party, and I was like, that is perfect. That's great, because everybody just needs a little bit of help somewhere, or a little bit of an example somewhere.
I'm the MC, and that's really what it comes down to. It's like I want to help guide people through the experience. You guys know I'm kind of like telling jokes the whole time. But it's really just like things that are coming up for me. Like, is this feeling awkward right now? Or like, let's all, like just walking people through a breath with each other. I've had to get comfortable doing that. I wasn't taking what I learned from doing guided meditations to like a group setting, and also being like authentic in that, time and time again, has been.
It's been great. And then even me and Milah, when we've hosted parties together, it was like, and we did a great job because we're goddamn perfect. So, everything we do, everything to do together is just fucking amazing. But like just people also seeing us and the love that we have, and like the trust that we have for each other, and going like, oh yeah, I like what they got. It brings me a sense of ease and a sense of comfort.
That's one thing I do after every party. When it's like, there's a time where I was like, okay, guys, like the main performances are over. I thank the team, and then I always thank my wife. Yeah. It's just like a nice little shout out.
Because you guys founded it together, yeah.
We founded it together, but also like it's a reminder to everybody there. Right, whether you're there with a partner or something, like don't get lost in the sauce.
Don't get lost in the sauce.
Don't get lost.
Remember who you came with.
Thank you, baby, for allowing me to host play parties like this. Dope. I love you. Thank you. That's what's up. This
is the foundation. This is how we got here. Each other. Let's not forget that.
Right, because I wouldn't be having as much fun as I'm having anyway if my partner wasn't like satisfied in some aspect or in some way of doing this. Like the reason why I'm enjoying myself is because the person at home is good at home and happy, and then
I don't want to scare people away to think only try this with a partner, right? No, there's going out there as a single,
vulnerable too.
Let me tell you, going to play parties as a single man is a whole like I've been going for years, and still to this day, like going as a single man is difficult. Yeah, like you're already like how you approach situations, like you got to be like how you're approaching people. Yeah. I think with women in a patriarchal society, it's a little bit easier to like, hey, do you mind if I join? It's like, Most people are like, yes, but the guy is like, hey, do you mind if I join? It's like,
who are you?
I mean, yeah.
Who are you, strange man?
Exactly.
Get away from me, strange man.
Exactly.
You know what?
Exactly.
Speaking of strange man, one rule that I really did appreciate at your party was don't have your dick swinging out.
Oh, dick dangling.
Can you please not have the dick dangling? Can it just be like in closed quarters?
We could talk about that. There's two rules, right? So it's our voyeurism rule. We call it our consent rule. I mean, our COVID rule. If you're within 6 feet, you need to ask, can I watch? Right? I'm going to tell you now, y'all are going to go to play parties, people out there, you're going to go to play parties and you're like, oh my God, that's so hot. Like, we're not touching them, but we're watching them, and you got to give people like 6 feet because it starts to feel like a threesome, especially when you're in this place of like, your emotions are open, you're vulnerable. Like we all become a little bit empathetic. We become empaths and feeling our energy. So just asking somebody, is it okay if I watch? That's another way to be like, to see if you could potentially join the scene. It's like, hey, is it cool if I watch? And then they're giving you signs like, is it cool if I touch? Like keep asking questions. Please keep asking questions. Yeah. Like that's a big part of this is continue to ask questions. Even when you're doing it, it's like, is this feeling great?
Don't guess. Yeah.
Exactly. Just ask the questions. And then the other rule was, you were saying, oh no, dick dangling. So there's times where like, a guy will come into a situation and the woman is in like a subspace, so she's just like, look, I'm a dirty little slut right now, and if anything's in my vicinity, I'm gonna be on
going for it.
Yeah, exactly. You've seen the type, and like men can sometimes try to take advantage of that. People can sometimes try to take advantage of that. Let me not just say men. There's women out there as well where it's like, oh, she's in a subspace. Well, now I'm going to go get after her. So you always, when people noticing when somebody's in that space and understanding like, hey, when a scene is paused, and that's like, like, hey, they were just going at it for a minute and they just kind of like rolled over. Maybe they're like switching positions, but they're taking more time. It's like, there's like a little lull, like maybe that's when you're like, hey, is it cool if I watch you guys? Or is it cool if I, so it's the EQ. It's a big EQ space, feeling it out, testing it out.
And then even times like that, you tend to understand how to read the room for regular real life situations and know like how to ask questions and know how to navigate. Because I mean, if I can have the comfort to ask questions in a play party than in a regular
the energetic intelligence.
Yeah, exactly.
Like I can maneuver so much better.
So one of the things that I take away from the play, we have this saying, if it's not a yes, if it's not a fuck yes, it's a no. So I just use that in regular life.
Yeah.
Where I'm like, hey, do you guys want to like take the Uber to this next spot? And they're like, well, I don't that. Don't worry. I'll get my own Uber. You guys, you know what I mean? So it's just you start feeling it out. And I that's one of the big lessons. Like, I'm just looking for more. I want to fuck yes for everything.
That's that cancer in you. We feel so
Come
deeply.
on,
We're like,
look.
did you hesitate?
Is it?
Never mind.
If it's not a fuck yes, I can just go somewhere else.
Never mind.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
My cancer brother and our sensitivity, our spidey senses are high.
Yeah. No, yeah, y'all get each other.
It's true.
Oh.
I was going to say, before we get out of here, we always ask our guests if they have any love they want to send to anyone.
Yeah, you want to love you want to dedicate to anybody in the world.
Oh man, I've got three things. One, the play team. I gotta send them love. It's a team sport. What I'm asking them to do is wild. What we're tasked with, hosting a festival at different locations around Los Angeles, 8 hours. That last one was 10 hours with a 4-hour after party. It's a lot to ask. And then also the back-to-back of being at parties. They see everything every time. They're seeing a lot. So that changes you as well. So just the endurance and their dedication to making this an amazing experience to people. Yeah. And then my last shout is to my wife. Yeah, I'm going to save it to my wife.
Yeah, she was a sweetheart. We met her coming as check-in. She was so nice.
She's going to see these podcasts, and she's going to be like, I can't believe you said this. I can't believe you said that. But I wouldn't have been able to do any of this without her. Not even close. Her feminine energy in this community has been huge, like where men and women can come to her to maybe a softer touch. I have an intense energy. I see it. I can be a polarizing figure.
So polarizing, shaking in my boots.
Shaking in my boots.
But all to say, it's like, she's just, man, she's believed in me. And I think that's she's believed in me when I'm coming up with this wild dream I'm out here chasing.
Yeah.
It takes a lot out of myself. It takes a lot out of her. It affects our relationship. It affects how we interact with our families. There's just so much, and she's made so many sacrifices. And just the unconditional love this woman continues to pour into me is taught me how to unconditionally love others and myself. I learned that from my wife.
Yeah. Labor of love. Thank you.
And I do want to dedicate some love to you and you and your wife and putting this space together, because it's so important for us to experience this. And I realize the freedom and openness that Black and brown and people of color feel when they finally get into a space where they could be nude and free in themselves, and how it just changes the chemistry within you on the inside. And it's really been beautiful. And if it ever aligns, you ever need two beautiful Black hosts for your parties and fantasy fairies,
we can use some fantasy fairies. We could use some performers. From what I heard, there is
that girl right there.
There's a performance happening. I'm gonna hit up Jonathan and we're gonna figure it out.
I'm gonna slide you my business card. We're gonna put something together, right? Tell Jonathan's people to talk to your people to talk to my people. And we're gonna make that happen.
Tell the people where they can find you and where they can find the play.
You can find the play on Instagram at theplay.la. On our website, theplay.la, and my Instagram, Michael Hollis, at Michael Hollis, HOLLICE. I think we have a TikTok as well, at theplay.la. I'm not on TikTok. With our social media manager, she's crushing it. But yeah, come check us out. Not all the applications get accepted. That's just what it is.
You can put us. If you find out from the play from Love Like This, go ahead and put that on the play application. Don't roll up on Michael in the case that you get a no.
Yo, so many people roll up and be like, so why didn't I get picked? I was like, whoa, I
see Michael in public, don't corner him. He is a regular civilian. Do not corner Michael if he says no.
And if you need any more information or any more I don't know. To feel more comfortable with sending the application, hit us up. I love to help concierge people into feeling comfortable into this space, because I really truly believe being nude and interacting with other people is one of the best experiences you can have into finding out who you really are and finding out who somebody else really is. And that's a great way to connect and know people. When we're wearing clothes and wearing makeup and wearing all the things that we can cover up anything and cover up our mistakes, but when you're fully nude and you're fully exposed and fully vulnerable, that's when you really get to learn about yourself and everybody else. So hit us up, hit up the play, please go ahead and experience that. Yeah, all links in the bio.
Thank you guys for having me.
Oh no, thank you for being here.
I think this is the first. No, I mean my second, but we're talking with couples.
Yeah,
is super dope. I think what it inspires, right, to show that you guys can have this open conversation about your sexuality and your relationship with a third person in the room and not feel like, oh, now I got to defend myself. How could you say that about us in front of him?
What do you mean jealousy?
Michael has seen us have sex from a distance, so we're best friends now.
Right.
Just kidding.
We were there. But all to say, it's these type of conversations are super hard, I think, to know where to start. And you guys modeling this for people is, I can't even imagine the type of healing and communication it's inspiring. So thank you guys for having me.
Thank you, friend. We're not dictators. We're examples.
Bye.
Bye. Love y'all.
Love you.
La like this.